Hello everyone, I'm Kibitz and welcome to 2022, brother. We've made it to a new year, full of fun possibilities. One cool thing that happened though near the end of 2021 was I found out that I could actually open up all of my old worlds from Satisfactory. Meaning that today we're gonna go through a little nostalgia trip of my last 2 years of playing and the 3,000 hours I've put into the game. So you can see some of the old pre-update things, some of the goofy builds I got started with, and it's a perfect opportunity to catch you guys up with the lore. So, if you guys enjoy, remember to leave a like, and let's get started with the very first world I'd ever made back in 2019 with this factory. Call it Big Red, cause it's red. Classic. No, this is where it all began. JK, this is what became of this old world after 700 hours. Where it actually began was in the green fields, just in the dirt. So, for Satisfactory's release, I think it was like March 29th or something, they had like a 3-day release weekend. And dude, I played this game out of my mind, like 28 hours. And I made 3 videos, so it's like, just all in this game. When I first watched the first couple trailers, I was like, this looks amazing. If even half of the stuff from the trailers is in this game, this is gonna be the best game ever. And then the game came out and it's like, oh my god, it's even better than the trailers, and I was immediately hooked. Fantastic time, but yeah, of course, like most people got started in the green fields here. I had like a little starter base kind of thing here before it evolved, and from the get-go, I wanted to build big and I wanted to build tall. But that ran into a lot of problems, especially in the past. But super quick, I want to show you something so adorable. So before I got started on the main base, you need biofuel, right, in your first world and just to get started. And so look, over here, this is actually my first little factory. It's a little biofuel factory. So yeah, you got bounce pads everywhere. Let's get out of the creative flight mode here. Walk around a bit. And you can see that I have bins for putting in wood, for putting in grass, going to my first little load balanced machine, constructors, all that jazz. A little overgrown because of the updates though. Apologies, and also apologies for the lag, as the world is a little crazy. But yep, all the stuff would become the solid biomass, go into storage, and just hand deliver all of that to all of the biomass burners. But yeah, this is the very first factory I'd ever built. Just learning the controls, how to do things. This store is on the correct side back in the day, but you know how things are. And back before all the game's updates, bounce pads were your only option to really move around quickly. So I have bounce pads just everywhere, especially in the early game. You get a bounce pad, have U-jelly around, and do things of that nature. And belts, oh man, belts. Around this whole world, they're little belts like this one, because back in the day, before hypertubes and hypertube boosters, aside from bounce pads, you'd throw on a jetpack, then you'd jump on a belt, and then use that to kind of get some momentum and fly around. Anyway, back in Update 1, things were basic. I think Update 1 introduced nobelisks, like the explosives, and there weren't actually conveyor lifts. So one of the iconic things of the release of this game was everybody making these massive belt spirals. This is how you have to bring items up any discernible distance. And it was tedious, extremely tedious. Like one tower like this would take about 45 minutes. Anyway, aside from that, eventually conveyor lifts were added and everything was all fun. Enough nostalgia. Let's just take a nice little tour here. We didn't actually have like a proper storage room. Pretty much all I had was these couple bins for like the most bare essential items that auto refilled. So we had concrete and those things, and then this was for miscellaneous. And then most of my storage room was just this, where I hand delivered things and literally added them into storage by hand. This is not the way to go. Automate all of this kind of stuff. Bring it all to one place, have a normal storage room. This was so tedious. Unbelievably so. But it worked for a while. Worked for a while. Anyway, this whole factory was built with the conception of kind of just stacking boxes effectively. We started with one giant box in the front, and then we just stacked another box on top, and another one, and another one, and another one, until things got a little out of hand. Oh, but this is the best part. Because we didn't have hypertubes or things of that nature, bounce pads were the name of the game, so bounce pads would get us everywhere. So yeah, we have bounce pads to everywhere we'd want to go. And we'll continue to travel around with them. Got our nice little slug ranch right in the middle of the stinky rock. And this is our main airport. So like I mentioned, we used belts to get around back in the day. So you'd jump on a belt and fly as far as you could with the jetpack. And then over here, since we're in the green fields, we had a little buddy that'd like to stop by the airport. Oh, hello. Think we could catch a flight right now. As we wait, look at this horrific thing. Oh, I remember making this massive tower. Dude, I think that actually took like a total of, I think it was actually 8 hours. 2 4-hour sessions. Man, it's so nice. Now you have conveyor lifts and all that jazz. That was added in update 2. Made everything so much better. Here we go though. So I built my base so that the moth would fly directly through it and we could just walk on it. And off we scoot on great adventures. Oh, dude, this world is actually really cool. We got roads going everywhere because I was a bigger fan of trucks back in the day. Still should do more with trucks, but you know how it is right now. Got some cool decorations, and yeah, our base, very tall. Oh, and a cool thing with trucks though, I had them always dropping in on the roads. So the truck would go up that way, go to its truck stop that's behind that cliff, go up a level, and then go and drop back onto the road. I did that kind of all over the place. Very convenient way to have trucks re-enter systems instead of having like an actual intersection. Intersections? No. Just have the truck drop onto the road. Oh man, and then the train station. So I want to have everything in one location, so our base would be as big as possible. So the train system is just ridiculous. It is insane. We have what I called Train God here. So this train is 50, maybe 100 cars long, and it would be picking up stuff from all over the world. It was nuts. And back in the day when trains didn't have collision, all of the trains somehow would just end up forming together into one super massive train called Train God, and it ruined all of my systems and was the worst thing in the world. But I digress. Going into our base here. As I kept building boxes all over the place, I ended up with like several different buildings, and I was just like, nah, let's put a roof over all of them and make it one super building. And we ended up with our space elevator being in the middle here, and this huge empty area for us to mess around in. It's awesome. Very, very grand. Kind of the courtyard of the base. Space elevator there. We have bridges of items going all over the place, and probably one of the cooler things that I want to do in our current playthrough is way up high. We have effectively scaffolding everywhere, where we'd walk from one factory to the other, looking down and seeing all that was around. I wonder, I'm not sure where all the trucks are, but we have a lot of roads going through here too, and a lot of truck stations are all over the place. I used a lot of trucks. Trucks, they're a good time. They're fun to mess around with. They can be laggy at times, but they're fun. And seriously, we got a lot done with trucks. There's like 8 stations here, and it kind of works like a gas station wherein the trucks would come in this way, go through their stop, here's an intersection, and they go over that way to a main highway, and off they go. It's crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Most of the time, honestly, it didn't actually work very well, but it was fun, and it worked enough. Oh, and of course I should mention, I'm not gonna be able to cover like every little detail here, but if you wanna see every little detail, I've included the playlist links in the description so you can kind of go through them if you want. But yeah, season 1 here, it's just a blast. You'd really enjoy it, I'm sure. Oh, but just a few other things. This is the first Beast machine I'd ever made. The Beast 1, making crystal oscillators. This is where the meme came from. You'll see more of this in season 3. Oh boy. I think we ended up making about 50 crystal oscillators there. Something along those lines. It's pretty good. And then in total, through this entire endeavor, I think we actually were going for turbo motors, because that was the most advanced tech in the game at the time. So we had a lot of cool machines making more crystal oscillators, as you could imagine. We had the space elevator built into our base, so we had this really, really cool view here. Oh, what a thumbnail this was. And finally, we get to the very top of it all, where we have our turbo motor factory, which makes a quaint, I think it's like 14 per minute or something like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like 13 or 14 turbo motors per minute. Look at them go. So much effort, so many hours. So proud, so proud. Oh, and I almost forgot about nuclear. Isn't it quaint? This is our nuclear fuel rod factory. We didn't have a lot of decoration tools back in the day, so you know, it took me a couple hours to kind of get to where we're at. And we started off small, my little radiation symbol on the front here. Adorable. And the couple manufacturers inside that were fueling our reactors. And all of the reactors are over this way. I had one video where I had covered the entire swamp biome with nobelisks when they came out because they were new. And I kind of Thanos snapped the entirety of the swamp here. With updates, some trees have returned, so it's not as barren, but you know, we had our fun. And we got a couple reactors rocking and rolling here. I think this is like, is that a row 9 times 3, so about 27. Nice. Very wholesome. Good time. And that, for the most part, is the main stuff from our first season. It was really just building up that first factory, learning about all the new stuff, because we had no idea what most things were. And then lots and lots and lots and lots of trains, because we're transporting all of the raw resources from around the world back to our home in the green fields. And once we got the turbo motors done, that's when we kind of ended this season off. Having everything in one location made things extremely laggy. Like update 5 has really optimized the game. So you could imagine in update 1 or update 2, things were pretty bad. Like we're getting like 20 to 30 FPS if we're lucky. Most of the time it hovered around 15. It's like a slideshow. But we had our fun, we met our goals, and we had a great time. And then moving on to season 2, this is the one world I can't really tour because it was more so like a mod showcase. Checking out some of the cool stuff that the community was building, like the pre-hyper tubes, little transport tube things, messing around with modular power, doggo daycare things, and all this fun stuff. It was neat, it was neat. I'll probably do another modded thing in the future, but we'll see. So yeah, that's more so a season you should just watch on your own. Again, playlist in the description. So moving on to season 3, where I've took the knowledge of season 1 with the fun experiments of season 2, combine them together into our season 3 world. This base is freaking crazy. It's huge. It's like 4 of the season 1 bases put together in a far more organized package here. Similar concept, bring everything possible to one location to process it, and let her rip. And we let her rip, man. We let her rip. Numbers got a lot more extreme. We got pipes in the game as well, so oil be moving, it be grooving, trains out the wazoo, and a very interesting build strategy as well. Wherein season 1 was just box on box on box. Here it's just like one big box, and then we can add modular parts to it as we kind of go along. So that was kind of the plan. It's just pretty much a giant box. We'd bring everything to it, and we'd have little towers or item spines, as I like to call them, bringing all of the items up to where they needed to go. Of course, I kind of underestimated the amount of items in the game, and we needed lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of towers, and lots and lots and lots of items. Things got crazy really quick. Oh, and some major things happened with this season. Number 1, I started with just a giant temporary base so we could get the basics automated before we started on the main base. So then I just moved all the temporary stuff into the main base and made playing the game like a lot easier. Would recommend doing that. Also, we got an actual storage room going. Right past Kibs? Right. With all the items we needed in refilling bins, and this was like the handiest thing in the world. So convenient because you can see all the items on the ground, and it's just awesome. If you want to know how to make this storage room yourself, by the way, I made a tutorial. Link in the description, go figure. Yeah, this was the best. Almost as good as our hypertube hub. Because ironically, in season 2, when I was messing with a mod that was kind of like hypertubes, hypertubes were actually added to the game, like pretty much like a month after. It was amazing, and I liked them a lot. They're pretty cool. So we made these massive hypertube hubs with just tubes on tubes on tubes everywhere in these crazy areas. You kind of just get sucked up into one, go to wherever, and you're good to go. We didn't have signs back then, so I just had to color code things as best I could, and that's how we went about it. So this hypertube hub goes to places inside of the base, and then we have another hypertube hub, literally an exact replica, on the other side of the storage room, right on over here. Kind of a bit overkill to build 2 of these, but I had a lot of fun, and they look awesome, so you know, it is how it be. Then, as you could imagine, the entire factory is just filled with machines upon machines, oh gosh, so many refineries, and so many smelters. Hundreds and hundreds of smelters, because I didn't use power shards a lot back in the day. So, you get one pure iron node, and it's like 20, 30 smelters. I'm like, oh no. So we just have a lot of rooms that look like this, where we just have giant smelter arrays, moving stuff to where things need to be. And again, lots and lots of refineries. As we kind of go up the tower though, we have the crown jewel, the Beast 3. So the Beast 1 showed you before. Beast 2 was the manufacturer array around the space elevator. And the Beast 3 here is our centerpiece of our season 3 base, where it's something like 140-ish manufacturers all making crystal oscillators. I had very big plans this season. In retrospect, a little too ambitious, but you know, that's kind of how I be sometimes. Anyway, you're probably looking at this and like, that's like 80 or something, that's not 140. This is just the front piece, part of the system. So we're making crystal oscillators here, and inside I hid the rest of them. So we got another, I don't know, 50 manufacturers over here. This is just a pretty straightforward setup. And then we have another, I think this is the bulk of them. This is like 80 manufacturers over here, all making crystal oscillators. Thousands of quick wire, as you could imagine, and just hours and hours, days, years of belt work. Many hours though. This is actually one of my favorite projects I've ever built. It's just very, very interesting. I love this layered look, where you go down or you look up and you just see all the chaos above and below you, and you're like, you feel like you're in the machine. It's a very cool aesthetic that I'm gonna be trying to go for in our season 3 world more. But this was kind of the last big production project we got to. We were running off of turbo fuel for all this, and we had somewhere around 200 turbo fuel power plants down here, and that worked for us for a long, long time. But eventually, we had to switch over to nuclear, and we went pretty big with the nuclear. This time, I think we went from 27 reactors in season 1 to 128. This was a nightmare. This was a straight up nightmare. We didn't have Mark II pipes. Pretty much everybody knew we were gonna get Mark II pipes, but I was like, I'm already building this. I'll upgrade it later. Terrible decision, because making all of these pipes get all the way up here from down here where I was fetching the water was the worst. But I did it, and all those pipes went up. You might notice they're all upgraded to Mark IIs, and that's because I wanted to actually continue the season 3 world here, but as a lot of you guys know, nuclear got a big change in update 4, where the reactors started producing a lot more nuclear waste. And they did before, and I built storage for the nuclear waste, but it was just too much. I think it went from like 10 an hour to like 10 a minute nuclear waste. Those numbers are incorrect, but I'm just trying to demonstrate like the scale increase in nuclear waste that was being produced. And yeah, how I built this system before was like 780 nuclear waste per minute. Now it's, well, over 1,000 nuclear waste per minute. Completely destroyed our world. And the crypt back here, where I was storing the nuclear waste, is just being filled so exponentially faster that it wouldn't last. And I was like, okay, I guess we're kind of doomed. Not to mention the just absolutely horrific lag. Of course, my game just crashed because of it. We moved on to a new season, but I've learned a lot, and we've done things differently. And that brings us to our Season 4 world, which we are working on now. Couple core principles here. Number 1, we're not gonna bring everything to one location this time. We did that every other season, lagged out our world to the point it was unplayable. Let's not do that. Number 2, I have built so many refineries and smelters that I didn't really want to do that as much anymore. So I cheated in our current playthrough. Downright cheated. I have added in infinite power shards with the use of mods so that we didn't have to build as many machines. Say what you will, I wanted to play the game how I wanted to play it, and I also wanted to complete this season and like make all the space elevator parts. So I could either build small scale and wait, or power shard and kind of go to the scale I desire. So power shards is the way we went. Of course, since we had power shards, that's gonna use, a lot of power. So lots of power was a big goal as well. Before that, last little thing was I did a little bit of pre-prep before starting the season and added in a worldwide train network just around the map, so we wouldn't have to worry about dealing with that tedious job. And also, I made this temporary base here. The whole point of this base is just so we had a storage room from the get-go. I didn't want to have to go through the tiers 1 to 6 stuff again. I've already done that. You guys have already probably seen it, and I wanted to get to like the cool giant projects and nuclear and all that jazz as quick as possible. So first off, we actually needed to power a nuclear power plant. You need power to get power. How it be? So we built our fuel power plant over here. This simply takes all the fuel from the northern coast here and converts it into power. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Easy 100,000 megawatts per minute. Pretty fun project. And we had a wonderful time having fun with the blenders. However, I do have to paint everything again because I changed all the colors in the world. Whoops. Anyway though, once we had a little bit of power, of course, straight to nuclear it was. So we automated all the stuff we needed for nuclear fuel rods and plutonium fuel rods and brought them over to the desert area where we built our nuclear power plant here. It is, okay, according to my notes, it's 112.5 nuclear power plants that we can actually run. And I think we used power shards on like half of them. So I think we only built around 80 actual plants. And then we have some back here that are for emergency purposes. And yeah, this thing has been a really, really fun project. We got it all running, we got plutonium going, we messed with drones for the first time. And I've learned a lot, specifically to build a nuclear power plant closer to water. And also, instead of bringing water straight up, we brought it up a nice curved hill, which is way easier than bringing it straight up a wall. Like that is like insanely important. Please do this. Save yourself the hassle. So much easier. But yeah, this nuclear power plant takes all of the nuclear uranium in the world and turns it into fuel rods. It's actually not the most efficient factory. You could build a more efficient nuclear power plant, but I didn't want to use all the rest of the Caterium and quartz crystal in the world. So it's a little scaled down. Of course, after we built it, almost immediately, we ran into problems, and that took a little while to sort out. But we did, and things are generally pretty good now. Although it doesn't look good right now, essentially that's just because of a small glitch. It's actually not a big problem. Yeah, then update 5 came out, and I decided, hey, let's mess with update 5. Let's redesign the front of our nuclear power plant into this beautiful, brutalist structure. And it looks absolutely gorgeous. That is the correct opinion. If you know what? If you don't like brutalism, I'm sorry. You're wrong. This is gorgeous. You have different tastes than me. How dare you? I love it though. I love it. It's my favorite build in the world so far. Until we get to our main base anyway. But once this is all built, fixed, complete, all good with the fuel and nuclear power, we have about 400,000 megawatts of power to mess around with, and we can do kind of anything. And our first non-power related project here has been to make a ton of rubber. Then we need to make aluminum. This is just to stabilize some nuclear systems. I'll explain it in a later episode. But since we had power shards, we could whip this together pretty quick. Only had to build 143 refineries instead of the 400 if we didn't power shard everything, which would have been the worst. But now that's kind of where we're at. We're finishing this up, then we're gonna get to some aluminum, and then onto our main base for this world, which is gonna be the craziest looking thing you guys are ever gonna see. Trust me, it's gonna be the best. But anyway, that's the whole 9 yards and where we're at the moment. So if you enjoyed, remember to subscribe. And if you want to go on a little nostalgia trip, again, all the playlist links for previous seasons are in the description. But for now, have a fantastic rest of your day, and bye-bye.